Do you want to take us to the next team, or do you not have the sheet open?
I got it open. So alphabetically, because we're very good at the alphabet on this podcast, we've never messed it up. The Brooklyn Nets come next in the Atlantic Division. Very interesting team. Blew up the roster at the deadline last year. So they have key free agents. Cam Johnson is restricted. Probably going to be one of the most sought after free agents. Fits pretty much everywhere. I know what I think he deserves. I'm curious where you land on that. We can get to that in a little bit.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get to that. That's going to be fascinating now.
Slightly less significant. Yuta Watanabe, good defensive player. The Nets have his non-bird rights. Can probably keep him if they want to. I don't imagine there's a huge outside offer coming for him. They don't have any major extension eligible candidates. Their cap picture, sort of their spending tools, essentially, like they have the mini mid-level, which is kind of contingent on how much Cam Johnson gets, and could get to the full MLE, which we have. I don't know if we mentioned mini mid-level is looking like it'll be about $7 million a year with standard raises. I can never remember the percentages of those raises. The full mid-level starts at 12.2. That's the projection. So they have a trade exception. It's a little under $5 million from the Kyrie Irving deal. They don't have to use that till February of 24. And their biggest needs, I don't know if you want to kind of jump into that a little bit, but they also kind of need someone that is an upgrade on, say, Spencer Dinwiddie or the where did this come from version of Mikal Bridges, who's an offensive self-starter. And they could use a big. If you saw that series against the Sixers, it was like a joke what they were trying to do. And they did what, again, I will maintain the Nets did pretty well throwing a bunch of big wings at Embiid and doubling and stuff. Defensively, they have the potential to be awesome. They just need someone behind Nick Claxton with some size, I think. So where would you like to take it from there? Do you want to go targets? Do you want to talk Cam Johnson? What do you want to do with the Nets?
I want to hear your thoughts on how much you think that Cam Johnson deserves in free agency.
I just think the floor is like 4 years, $100 million. I think if he gets less than that, I'm surprised.
Wow.
And that's based on, there are not a lot of combo forwards that are in the mid. He's an older rookie, so he's like 27 now. So you're getting basically his prime, like his mid to late 20s into his early 30, like age 31 season, maybe 30. He's a better defender than he was billed as coming out of college. He has proved that. Like I forget the stat that I had, but his defensive estimated plus minus, not a perfect stat, but I think we generally agree this is the best of the catch-alls. He's in like the 96th percentile in defensive estimated plus minus for his position last year. So like he's not a spot shooter that has a low ceiling like he was supposedly. I keep harping on the draft status, but this was like the Suns got killed for reaching for him. I don't know if you remember all that. narrative.
Yeah,
So,
no, I remember.
I
Kobe White was shocked. Do you remember his interview? Where
I think he fits everywhere. I think the market should be huge because you have all these rebuilders that could totally justify spending big on him. Like, this guy's going to start for us for the duration of the deal we sign him to. Contender should want it. Like, the market should be, he should be as in demand on the market as, like, certainly more so than someone like Grant Williams or Kobe White, another restricted free agent you mentioned. I just think you got to start him at like 25 a year. I think that's just what the market's going to bear.
I will be fairly surprised if he gets that much. I guess I don't view my trouble with him. He's a very good player, and there's more of a floor game to him on offense than just shooting. Is he a combo forward?
He might just be a four. He might just be a four.
That's what I keep coming back to. It's like, no, he's not as, he would skew more towards the perimeter where it's like John Collins is 4-5. He's more 3-4. Can you give that much money to a very much one position player where it's like it's not like just point guard. And that just makes it so harder to, like use him in maybe certain defensive lineups. Perhaps it doesn't matter. And he's a better defender than I think he's credited with. But if you start trying to put him on like true wings, I don't know if he's going to hold up all that well. And so that would be, I think that plus you kind of look at the teams that have cap space. I'm not sure how many of them will throw that much money out there. And maybe they're signing trades I haven't considered yet. But I think that represses his value more than anything, is that I view him very much as sort of a pure four.
I'm not sure on that point, but I do think he's different. Like you mentioned, John Collins, he's like a different type of player than John Collins because he is just a lights out, you cannot lose him shooter. So if you can do that and credibly defend a position, I think that's not the same as being we're not talking, I'm trying to think of like who is the quintessential, like I guess Anunoby, if Anunoby were a slightly better shooter, like that's the upgraded version of this. Johnson's kind of skews more offense, I guess. But I think that, so you mentioned some of the teams like Charlotte could do it. Detroit could do it. Houston could do it. Indy could do it. The Thunder could pay him. Even Orlando's like the last team, someone like him, but like they could do, Sacramento could maybe trim a ton and get enough money. The Spurs, like there's all these teams, Utah, like there's all these teams that could really throw a bunch of money at Cam Johnson. So I just feel like the offer sheet's coming. The big offer sheet's coming, and the Nets should probably match it.
Blown says Ben Simmons could fix all their entire problems. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. When we look at their need for size or advantage creation, and you had noted here that they might be the best team in the division to pull off a big trade, I think I would agree with you. The only team that would rival that is maybe, because the Raptors may be bigger as sellers, but not as buyers.
And the Knicks too. That's why I have a question mark in there in the doc. Like
that would be the only team. But when you're looking at free agency, I mean, like if Dame becomes available, if Trae Young becomes available, I don't think those guys will become available. And so when you move on from there, it gets a little tougher. You're not going to solve. We just went through like what the point guard market is going to be. Can you, let's just assume they can open up the bigger MLE. Is that like, that's not, I don't even know if that gets you Trae Jones. I don't know if you could poach him from San Antonio at that point. I mean, Ayo Dosunmu would be really interesting for this team. I don't know if he's floor general enough. Bulls aren't going to let him go for that. It feels like it'll be easier. Definitely thoughts on if you have any like floor general types for them. It'll definitely be easier for them to invest in size. And even that. So I'm going through some of the names that I feel like would make sense. And it's like, well, Bismack Biyombo is not actually that big. And do you want to go like Paul Reed's not that big? And do you want to go through the Andre Drummond experience again? Naz Reid would be a great offensive fit, but again, and his rim protection improved towards the end of this year. He's not that big.
No.
I kind of wonder, this is the name that's out there. And it doesn't, I think when you try to go through what they need, you're going to skew towards defense, but you have all these sort of wing types floating around and Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal. Would you trust? And if you can't get an advantage creator, would you trust if you could get him for like the bigger MLE, Christian Wood here, more shot creation, some actual size? Is that worth taking a chance on or just no?
I don't hate it at the full MLE.
That's the mark of I don't really like this. I don't hate it.
I mean, I feel like you're posing it as like, we understand what Christian Wood is at this point. How do you feel about this? So, I mean, that's, if I'm spending the full mid-level, if they can get there, again, recognizing the need for size, especially defensive size, which Christian Wood really doesn't provide, I think I'd rather take a shot at like Gabe Vincent or someone like that. If you think Vincent is going to get the full MLE, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But that level of money, because none of the bigs, I mean, you talk about the point guard market being pretty barren. The big market is rough.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, are we going to like Alex Len? Like, I don't know what would be I wouldn't be opposed to them taking a Christian Wood flyer, but if you could get Gabe Vincent using your MLE, I would 100% use it on him rather than use it on. I'm just trying to like alternatives, and you could like maybe it's easier for them to wind up trading for a big in the middle of the season. I don't know who becomes available. They could maybe even just look at filling him out with the minimum, or it's like, what does Dwight Powell actually cost you?
That was a name that just jumped out at me too. It's Dwight Powell as a backup. I don't have any problem with Dwight Powell.
Doesn't he have like a lifetime contract under the table with the Mavericks though?
Probably ownership stake.
Yeah, but I think the final question here to wrap up on them and keep us moving. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Do you expect them to continue down this path of we're not selling?
I mean, if it's true that they held on to Bridges in the face of like a 4 first-round pick offer, I have to believe that they will continue down the we are not selling path. I think the Nets can afford to operate kind of conservatively because they just went so wild for a few years with their whole roster building plan. That it rings pretty true to me. And I think they'll have the leeway to just kind of, let's take our time a little bit with this.
I think I'm with you on that one.